Good evening. I am going to present this presentation as if I am truly presenting it to my board. I, Based upon that information, I want you to know that I would actually provide them with some handouts, some graphics, some information in addition to what I'm going to read here. So they would not just get the information that they're going to see in this presentation, but they would have some additional things to look at and to talk about. So with that being said, we are going to discuss religion in the public school. My name is Dawnita Ernest, and I do believe that this is a topic that we could discuss each year at a professional development. We currently do have a young school board, and we have many new school board members. We're part of a very conservative, faith-based community, and so it is important that we understand these types of things and what we're looking at and how we need to go about dealing with religion in the schools. So some of the things we need to know is that we have had several landmark cases on religion here in the United States. And the first, not the first, but one of the most notable is Engel versus Vital, talking specifically about school prayer. The most controversial issue relating to classroom prayer, whether it can or can't happen. And this was about in 1962. Then, of course, in the 70s, we went on to Wisconsin versus Yoder, which had to do with the Amish community, and when their children turn of age, about 14, where they consider that child of age, they want them to be taken out of school and started on the work field. With our compulsory education laws, of course, 14 is not that age, but it is a religious or faith-based belief that this is part of what they do. And so that came about in the 70s. In the 80s, we had the evolution versus creationism that we have to look at. And that is, if you're going to teach one, you need to teach the other. We can't say which one we believe necessarily, but we are going to cover each one equally. In the 1990s, we have school-sponsored prayer, where a clergyman cannot come in and pray, but students and staff members, and how all of that works together, that was in the 90s. And then in the 2000s, we of course have the Pledge of Allegiance debate, and those are ongoing things that we have to deal with. We of course do here in my district say the Pledge of Allegiance each and every day. And so that has been discussed as a court case in previous years. So what we need to do is look at how we're going to apply the governing constitutional principles and context related to prayer. And so we need to look at those times of prayer during non-instructional time. Students may pray when they're not engaged in school activities or instruction. Organized prayer groups. They may organize prayer groups and have religious clubs and things, activities and events such as See You at the Pole. Teachers and administrators and employees, they can actually pray before school or during lunch. They are not going to be disciplined for that. That is fair game. They may do that. Moments of silence are kind of far and in between anymore, but students are free to pray silently, and they don't have to pray during those moments of silence if we do have them, but if we do have them, they have that opportunity to opt out. We need to be accommodating of prayer during instructional time in regards to like certain religions or faiths that would need to miss school time or instructional time to go pray. And so we need to know that that may be an issue for some of our students, especially in our larger schools. Prayer in the class assignments. Students can express their beliefs about religion in their homework and in their artwork. It's not completely off limits. It is their personal view and what they think. Student assemblies and non-curricular events. Prayer can happen possibly during these times. However, it does need to be made known as a neutral disclaimer that it is not a school-sponsored prayer. If that comes up, it's not that the school endorses it. It's the speaker that's doing it. But we do need to be aware of who's speaking, what's going on, and things of that nature. Prayer at graduation, again, same thing. Neutral disclaimer. We're not picking the people based on the fact that they're going to pray, but if it does come up, we will handle that situation when it comes up. It's not going to be, I shouldn't say handle that situation. It's not going to be something that we knew about necessarily. And then baccalaureate ceremonies, officials may not mandate or organize religious ceremonies, but this is provided for an opportunity for students to participate in this type of activity without reprisal. So concepts of religious expression. So the first thing we have is religious literature. Students have a right to distribute religious literature. If they would share something about a club or a sport, like we have trap shooting here at my school, if we were going to share that information with a trap shooting club, like, hey, come on out Wednesday night, we're going to have a little get together, we're going to have some food, fun, music, and we're going to do some trap shooting. I can also say that in regards to a Wednesday night youth group. Hey, come out to youth group on Wednesday night, we're going to have food, we're going to have church, devotional music, things of that nature. And so if we do that for one club, then we are allowed to do it for another. Teaching about religion, we can. This is what we're doing. Actually, in our district right now, my social studies teacher is teaching on world religions. And I just talked to a student in the hallway that said they were doing Confucianism. I know what I'm talking about, but it's hard to say. So anyway, we can talk about these things and learn about them and show students what the different religions are in the world. Student dress code and policies. Of course, these are subject to the same rules that generally apply to other comparable messages. You know, we don't allow students to wear distracting clothing to school, and I don't know what we consider distract. Of course, we know what distracting is when we see it, but we have to provide the same opportunity for students to wear a Christ-centered shirt or a Christian-themed shirt or a Muslim-themed shirt as compared to, something else like life at the cabin. Life starts at the cabin, or life is best at the beach, or something like that. Or if you're advertising for a company, or if you're advertising for a baseball team, or something like that. So we just have to keep the rules, keep the playing field fair. And then, of course, religious excusals. We have to think about those religiously motivated requests for excusal that we're not giving favorable treatment to one or the other. Then, of course, we have the prayer and the pledge. As I mentioned earlier, we have in 1962, government cannot create and sponsor religious activity. Okay, as government employees of school districts, we cannot do that. The pledge, of course, is the recitation of the pledge does not constitute an establishment of a religion. This has gone back and forth several times, and this is the last date was in 2019, as the Pew Research Center found that it does not constitute an establishment of religion. So we still are able to do that in our public schools. So rights in and out of the classroom for students, parents, teachers, and administrators. So students can participate on their own in religious activities. They can pray before meals, and they're not able to harass others for not believing in their belief. Okay, be nice to everyone. The rights of parents. Parents have the right to shape and control the education of their children. That's fair. It is not the school's job to raise children. It is our job to educate them. Although many times with some students, we do have to spend a little more time on other things than just education. But for the most part, that right belongs to the parents. And then, of course, there's regulations of religious expression during school hours, but not off school hours. Teachers are allowed to have their faith, to have their beliefs, to raise their own families and their children however they want, according to whatever religious belief that they want, without any repercussions. And then, of course, we got religion in the curriculum. We always have the ever faithful creation versus evolution. It's always a hot topic. The last time it went to court was in 2005. Study of the Bible. If we study the Bible from a critical rather than a devotional reading, or as the Bible as literature, we can offer it as a curriculum piece in our school. So if we have African American literature, which is a literature class that I personally took at Emporia State University when I was getting my bachelor's degree, I can take the history of Bible literature Okay, the Bible is broken down into multiple different types of literature. You have history, you have poetry, you have lamentations, you have all of these different types of literature in the Bible. And so, as long as we're going at it from that aspect, we can have a class called History of the Old Testament or History of the New Testament if we want to go at it from a historical perspective. And then, of course, holiday programs. If a student says they don't want to do it for a religious purpose, then they should not be forced to perform music that offends their religious beliefs. So based on this, I created this presentation with my own personal board in mind. As I created it, I envisioned myself not speaking from the slides, but speaking as though I were present with my board. In my mind, I would have given each board member a copy of what we were looking at, in addition to different cases and articles that would support what I was discussing. At times, religion can be a tough topic to be unbiased on, one way or the other. I tried to keep this as fair and equitable as I could so that it could apply to any school district, not just mine. I discussed policies and cases that have been precedent in my state and country. I think one way of making sure that laws are being adhered to is by giving this presentation yearly, not only to the BOE, but also to teachers and staff. This assignment, the relevancy to what we're doing in my degree program, it did improve my understanding of the topic on religion in schools. I know just the basics of this particular topic, but am now more knowledgeable. I don't think we will ever get this particular topic down pat, so it is becoming something that we will have to stay abreast of. And then, as I indicated previously, I think this presentation would be a good one to do each year. As a reminder to myself and others, we need to know what we can and can't do. We always want to make sure we are doing the right thing by students, and sometimes our staff isn't as educated on this topic as need be. As a future school leader, it will be important that I stay abreast of new cases that arise and also aware of what is going on in my building. As a future leader, I can give a presentation each year on this topic and then visit with teachers individually to see if there is anything that they question in regards to this topic. Sometimes we do things that we probably shouldn't in regards to this topic, and sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And then here are my references, and I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. It was great presenting, and I hope you guys have a great night.